All right. What the fuck? I am your host, Q, and I am here today to give you a review and comparison of my brand new J&S Jack to the Harbor Freight brand, which is called Pittsburgh. It's their jack that's made in China, and actually, this jack can still be purchased at Harbor Freight even though it's 6 years old. And I'm going to post a link right here for a review that I did of this jack. And I titled that video, Are Harbor Freight Jacks Durable? And I've been using this jack now for about 3 or 4 months, and it's durable. It's done very well. And I can tell you, I'll start the video off by just telling you, this jack and this jack have the same core function, safely lifting your bike off the ground. Now, there are some key differences between the two jacks, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video today. So let's get into it. Now, the first thing that I'm going to do is talk about some of the differentiators between the J&S Jack and the Pittsburgh Jack. All right. So number one are the casters that are on the J&S Jack, the wheels that it rolls around on. They're very high quality and they roll very well. Very, very well. So let me give you a quick demonstration of that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is release the two screws, which are basically brakes. You know, we'll call them brakes, and you just turn them counterclockwise to raise them up, which takes the pressure, or it allows the jack to move. So it's going to turn them both counterclockwise to make sure they're off the floor. And then you'll see how easy it is to maneuver the jack. It takes very little effort and it rolls very, very easily. In fact, again, it rolls too easily. Now, I'm going to show you something else here. My garage, like most, is not perfectly level. And so if I let the bike go, or I'm sorry, if I let the jack go, it will start moving on its own. And if you're not careful, it could crash into your classic car if you're not watching it. So it's very important to use I don't know what they call them. I call them little brakes, little floor brakes. And it just basically makes it so that the bike, or so that the casters can't go rolling off and the jack gets out of control on you. So we're going to reset this. And that will help keep the jack in place. You just turn them clockwise until the little screws make contact with the floor, and now it's not going anywhere. It's pretty stable. However, I will tell you that the Pittsburgh Jack does have the exact same thing on it. In fact, the screws are in the exact same location. They function exactly the same way. However, the Pittsburgh Jack does not roll as smoothly, and I'll provide a demonstration for that as well. The next thing that we're going to talk about with the J&S Jack, I want to talk about the ads that you see on YouTube or on the J&S website that talk about how stable the motorcycle is when it's lifted in the air. However, I'm not going to crawl up on the fender of my bike, and I'm also not going to get on the back seat because that's insane and asking for trouble. But I will tell you that, you know, it's fairly stable. I don't know how they accomplished the thing that they did where it doesn't move. Let's try setting the brake. Let's lift it high enough. So you have the two safeties. So we're going to lift it up, and we'll go up to the second notch. All right, so now I'm going to lower it down onto the safety. All right, so now let's see how stable the bike is just sitting on the safeties. And again, it'll still wobble around a little bit. Again, I'm not overly concerned about it, but I wouldn't go hop on the back of the bike. I don't know how they pull that magic trick off. Yeah, I just don't see how they did that. But again, I'm not going to test that, but I do feel very comfortable and confident with it setting on the jack. So that part's fine. Again, the same thing is true of the Harbor Freight Jack, and I will demonstrate that for you as well. The next thing that we're going to talk about, in their video, they show how smoothly the bike lowers on the jack, and I will confirm that that is true. This jack can lower your bike very smoothly. It can also lower your bike like a rock. Okay, so I'm going to relocate the camera and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is the release valve here that will lower the bike. Now, in the intro to this video, you saw my bike falling like a rock, crashing down to earth towards my car. Fortunately, it didn't hit my car because the kickstand was still down, thank God. But again, this will only turn 90 degrees counterclockwise. If you turn it all the way 90 degrees counterclockwise, it's going to drop like a rock. You don't need to turn it that far. Only a tiny smidge is all that's required to get the bike to go down. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure the kickstand is down. All right, and then we're going to turn it just a tiny bit. Now again, I will say this is the one thing that I like the least about this jack. I don't like being in this compromised position, having to get down on one knee to lower the bike, but that's the way they've designed it. All right, now we're going to release the two safeties, and we're going to turn it just a tiny bit, and it will lower the bike nice and smoothly. All right, and that was just a very tiny move, and I'm going to demonstrate that again. All right, we're going to lift the bike up, but this time we're going to go a lot higher. We're going to take it all the way up to its maximum height. All right, that seems to be the max height there. All right, so while it's up there, let's see, I've lifted the front tire about roughly 10 inches off the ground, and the back tire is about right about the same. So I got the bike level on the jack for the most part. So again, the release valve, you just turn it very slightly. All right, so we zoomed in a little bit because I want you to see how far you have to turn it to get the bike to drop. It's very slight. So the bike's going down now very slowly. So you're not turning it more than 10 degrees off of center, and it lowers the bike at a very even and steady pace. Now, can you do that with the Pittsburgh Jack? Yes, but it won't be that smooth and it's not that easy. So now let's put the Pittsburgh Jack under here and see how that looks. I did it again. So our next demonstration is going to be with the Harbor Freight Pittsburgh Jack. So we're going to roll the jack under the bike. We're going to lift it up. We're going to show you the stability of it, and we'll also look at how high the Pittsburgh Jack can lift the bike off the ground. Now what you hear clicking is the safety, and basically what it does, it rests on 3 notches that are welded to the frame of the jack, and with each click it's engaging a new safety. Now this is your safety, and it's resting on the 3 welded pieces of iron that's on there. And that's what I don't like about the Pittsburgh Jack. A weld is fine until it breaks. And the problem with the weld is that you can't always see the cracks. And so if there's a problem with the safeties, you won't know until it drops your bike. And so that really makes me uncomfortable compared to the design of the safeties on the J&S Jack. It's just a little bit more robust, I think. However, the safety on the Harbor Freight Jack is just slightly easy to operate because you can control both sides with 1 foot. Now, another key differentiator, which is an advantage for the Harbor Freight Jack. So the release is this pedal right here, but the problem is that the speed of lowering the bike depends on how you press that pedal. And again, that's something that you have to get used to. And having used this jack for the last 4 months, I have gotten used to it, and I don't find it difficult to lower the bike smoothly. And again, it's very easy to lower the jack. You're going to pull your safety back and just rest your foot on the pedal and press it ever so slightly. And I'm also going to hold the bike. Well, actually, we're going to double check and make sure that our kickstand is down. And it is. And actually, while the bike is jacked up in the air, we'll compare the stability compared to the J&S Jack. And again, it's about the same. They wobble a little bit. But again, I don't have any concern with my bike being up here. It's fine. I'm not going to crawl on top of the bike. I think that's insane. I couldn't believe that they did that in that J&S promotional video. But I'll be honest, I don't see a major difference in stability. You can see a difference in the design of the jack. The frame, or the, I guess the width of the jack. The J&S Jack is a little bit wider, so it probably makes it a little bit stabler. But yeah, I don't really notice a big difference, to be honest with you. So anyway, we're going to lower the bike back down. Again, you're going to rest your foot on the pedal and press it very slightly. And it's going to start going down. Now again, if you just push this pedal all the way to the floor, that's going to drop your bike like a rock. And again, if you want a demonstration of that, go to Robert Simmons' channel, because that's what he did. But I guess I can't say much because I did the same thing with my J&S Jack by turning that release valve all the way, which turned out to be a really bad idea. Now the foot actuator on the Harbor Freight Jack, I think I like it a little bit better, but truthfully, it's not that much better. It's about the same. For some reason, it just looks a little bit sturdier to me, but it's the same. Now, one difference between them is that the Harbor Freight Jack has a heavier duty spring compared to the lightweight spring that's on the J&S Jack. All right, so that's as tall as we can get, and we'll check see how high we got the bike off the ground. The front tire is roughly, it's about 10 inches, and so I'm going to guess the back tire is about the same. Yeah, it's about the same. So there's no real advantages in height. This is a good height to work on the bike. When I'm washing or detailing the bike, I lift it all the way up. And I have no concerns at all about safety or the durability of the jack or the ability of the jack to keep the bike in the air. So let's go ahead and lower the bike back down. Again, I'm going to hold the bike and just barely put a little bit of pressure. And you see how it jumps a little bit? Oh, we are sitting on the safety. So we got to lift it back up, pull the safety up, and now lower it. So it's not quite as smooth as the J&S Jack, but once you get used to it, it's not bad at all. Now the other thing that I'll show you about the Pittsburgh Jack is that it is a little bit more difficult to roll. Now, out of fairness, this jack is 6 years old. Maybe these casters are a little bit older, maybe they're a little bit rusted or something, I'm not sure. But it just doesn't roll as easily. It will move around, but it takes a little bit more effort to move it. It does not take this much effort to move the J&S Jack. It's really, really easy. But again, out of fairness, those are brand new casters. So the choice between these jacks really boils down to one thing, and that's price. This Pittsburgh Jack, even though it's 6 years old, this model is still available at Harbor Freight. And I'll post a link to it about right here. I believe the price is about $125. For the price, you really can't beat it. The J&S Jack, if you go on their website, you'll have to order it. Their website states that it's a 4 to 6 week lead time. It's a lot longer than that. I ordered my Jack, and it took about, I want to say 10 weeks for it to arrive. And I waited patiently. In fact, I even called J&S a couple of times just to inquire about the status of my order. And a really cool thing happened on one of my phone calls. Steve answered the phone, who is the S of J&S Jacks. How cool is that? You call a company and you get to speak to the owner. In fact, we talked on the phone for a solid 20 minutes. Had a great conversation. He's a really cool guy. I learned a little bit about the company from talking to him, and he was talking to me about some of the challenges that they're going through with the modern supply shortages that virtually every industry is suffering. But for the price of one J&S Jack, you could probably get 5 of these Pittsburgh Jacks. So you really have to ask yourself the question, how is that even possible? And the short answer is this Jack is made in China. Now, some people might not care, and obviously I can't blame them because it functions, it does the trick. Again, there's several features of the J&S Jack that I think are superior to the Pittsburgh Jack. The casters, the way that you can control the speed of lowering the bike with the J&S Jack is better, but having the foot release on the Pittsburgh Jack is actually better. Outside of that, they both lift the bikes about the same height. Their core function is exactly the same, and it's really difficult to take the J&S Jack and cost justify it, just to be perfectly honest with you. Now, I will tell you that when I think about this Pittsburgh Jack costing $125 retail, it's really hard to wrap your mind around how that's even possible. So just think about it. This Jack was manufactured somewhere in the heart of China, in a place that's not Pittsburgh, and they had to ship it to a port in China somehow, either by truck or by rail, or somehow get it from somewhere inside of China to their rail yard or to their shipyard, where it's loaded into a container. That container is loaded onto a cargo ship. That cargo ship travels across the Pacific Ocean, maybe to the port in Long Beach, California, where it's unloaded by the dock workers there in California. That container is unloaded and sent to a warehouse, and maybe even a second warehouse, and possibly even 3 warehouses before it hits the retail shelf at Harbor Freight, where they can sell it at retail for $125. The only way that's possible is if there was 0 labor costs going into this. And yeah, I'm talking about some kind of slavery or something, because I just don't know how you do that. How do you produce this Jack for $125 retail? I mean, if you think about the cost of running a retail store, they got to have some kind of profit margin. You have all the employees that are there. They got to keep the lights on. They got to pay all their real estate and taxes and employment expenses. This Jack was built for $125. It's being sold for $125. I don't know. I like China. I've been there. It's a beautiful country. It's amazing, actually. I just don't know how they do this. I mean, it actually seems impossible. And personally, I have a hard time supporting how I think they did it. I just don't like it. Again, it's not the function of the Jack. The Jack functions just fine. Nothing wrong with it. I would have absolute confidence using this Jack for cleaning my bike or the other minor maintenance that you need a Jack for. But personally, I'm going to stick with the Jack that's made in America. So that's all I have. Hope you got something out of that. If you did, hit like, subscribe.